Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for another Brands Behaving Badly video where we take a look at some of the crazy things that these influencer agencies ask creators to do for money. And it was inspired by a dust-up that happened on X, formerly known as Twitter, this weekend. Let's take a look. So let me start with the thread that popped up on X that inspired me to make this video this weekend. So this tweet here is from Mike Rose, who's the CEO of No More Robots. They are a game publisher, and they recently published an indie game called Spirit Tea. And in his tweet here, Mike talks about all of the metrics that they were looking at and how successful the game was upon its release. So congrats to them. The game is kind of a combination between an RPG and Stardew Valley. Not my cup of tea, but maybe some of you played it. And he goes on, though, to say that when they did reach out to YouTubers to see if they may want to do a review, kind of an editorial review of the game, nearly every YouTuber who got back to them wanted money to make a video. And this is a topic that we cover quite frequently on this channel because I don't believe if you're going to review something, you can call it a review if you're being paid to do it. And after Mike got a ton of negative responses to this tweet, he said, now look, I get it. That's just how it works now. YouTubers want you to pay them to cover your games. All right, sure. He goes, but I just don't want to do that. It feels weird and icky and disingenuous. And of course, that continued the rage threads that were coming back at him. Although a number of people sided with Mike, including myself, because I do think there needs to be a separation between paid content, paid advertising, and editorial reviews. And we'll get into more of this when we look at my example in a minute. But this was kind of an example of the responses that Mike received from people who thought it was right to pay people to make reviews of things. And this creator here called Reanimate Her says, most creators who are paid will give honest reviews and let people know they were paid for it. But will they really? Let me show you what happened when one of these influencer agencies reached out to me the other day looking to pay me to review a product. So let's take a look at how these honest paid reviews really work behind the scenes. A few months ago, I got an email from an agency called Crowdcreate, and as you can see, I ignored their initial emails, and they often start off the same way. They call these things collaborations. They use a lot of transactional language. Are you interested in doing something in exchange for? And then, of course, they always ask for your rates. Now, if most of the YouTube reviewer space was not on the take, this would not be how you start off a communication, but the reality is a bulk of what you're seeing out there is likely paid for, and not everyone is disclosing, and a lot of people aren't disclosing properly even when they do. And of course, I responded back and I said, look, I don't do paid product reviews, but I'm happy to review products that might be of interest to my viewers. The reviewers there is my error when I was typing it out. If you want to arrange for samples to be sent. And I want to be clear here too, I get a lot more stuff in than I actually review, because if I feel like it's not something that's going to interest the audience or it's not a very good product, I'm not going to waste my time or yours looking at it. So I've got a pile of stuff that just doesn't get reviewed because it's just not going to meet the criteria. Now I do paid sponsorships, and I did mention this to them. The type of paid work that I do typically involves deep dive how-tos and tutorials focusing in on specific product features or helping a brand with video content around some of their frequent tech support calls. And I want to be clear, I'm not opposed to sponsorships because I do them here on the channel from time to time. The most notable one, of course, is Plex, the personal media server. I've been doing paid sponsorships for them for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't even know how long. And they've been a great sponsor here on the channel, primarily because they just let me do whatever. I kind of pick the topic, they don't review it before it gets uploaded, and it works out great for both of us, and I think you get a lot of value out of it. I've also done a lot of tutorials for Synology and for the Mevo multicam system, and these are all products that I've used personally. I've bought them in the past, and I find them to be very good products, and I'm comfortable putting my name next to them, but I'm not doing videos trying to sell you something. I'm actually showing people how to work or how they work or how to get more value out of them, and that's the kind of sponsorship that I am interested in doing. I am not opposed to anyone that takes money to do a product sponsorship, but you really need to make sure the viewers understand what they're watching before they tune in, and that's why my thumbnail colors here are different when I've got one of these dedicated reviews. Now, the problem with these influencer agencies is that it's like talking to a brick wall when you mention doing an editorial review of something. They can't get their heads around the fact that you can actually make content without having a transaction involved with it. So after I sent them that email, they responded back saying that this is about a new TP-Link Tapo Color Pro camera, and they want me to do a dedicated review or a comparison review in exchange for, and that's a big no-no for me. I never agree to do anything in exchange for anything else. I responded back and I said, hey, I'm a journalist. I approach reviews in this manner. I don't do paid reviews. I don't share metrics unless we've got some kind of paid tutorial collaboration to determine if this review would be of interest to my viewers. And this is an important thing because what I value more is what you're going to find of interest. Can you let me know if these cameras require a paid subscription and are RTSP compatible? And the reason I ask this is because I know you're all sick of seeing security cameras there that are all locked into their own ecosystems that require an ongoing cost of ownership just to have the camera screwed into the side of your house. I don't think that's how security cameras should work. I'm looking for security cameras that you buy once and they work with whatever you want to connect them with. And those cameras are few and far between from these big brands. And if it didn't meet those two requirements, I wasn't going to review it because I don't think you'd find it of interest. And of course, they didn't answer the question directly. But they did say they want me to review and partner with me to review the camera, even though I hadn't agreed to do it. And the kicker was, after all of this, they said the team would like to review the video before it's published. That's another big no-no from me. And if you go and search on YouTube for all these reviews of this camera, this is the terms that all of these guys were under. And it gets worse. I'll show you their product brief in a second here. So I responded back and I said, so in reviewing the footage ahead of time, I'm assuming they would like something that is purely positive, to which the contact at Crowdcreate says, I believe so, yes. As long as you follow the brief, you should be fine. If you have a creative video idea, we'd love for you to stay true to your audience. I mean, it's all BS. So let's take a look at what the product brief requires. Now, this is what they are requiring for these people who are doing paid, honest reviews, right? So they require that you refer to the product correctly instead of its model number. If you are an Amazon affiliate, please put your affiliate ID so we can add it to the trackable link we'll provide to you. They track all the metrics from every click that people make. So you go through them first before they send you over to Amazon. You have to mention that TP-Link has provided you with a discount code that you can find in the description below. And if you are showing the product in the box, make sure to also show it in use out of the box. All right? So they're directing your content here. And then they go further. They want you to speak to the peace of mind that the camera has provided to you, and they have some ideas about that. They want you also to show how easy it is. They really want you to do a commercial here for them. This is not a review. It goes further. Make sure to use the discount code. They want you to call that out. You can have no other brands that sponsor the video, and other brands will be mentioned. You need to pin a comment with a call to action button that includes the trackable link provided by TP-Link. The video cannot be archived or deleted, and the description box has to include all these different things. And it goes on. It says that you have to send them not only the video, but the thumbnail and the caption to TP-Link team prior to approval. All drafts and posts must be submitted on or before the dates and times outlined in your agreement. You must also include video caption description when submitting your drafts for approval. I don't even know what that means. If revisions are requested, the influencer will send the revised draft to TP-Link for approval prior to posting. Provide a URL link of the final destinations for the published posts by the due date. And then they've got stuff for TikTok if you're doing stuff over there as well. It's crazy what they're requiring here. And this is the problem. This is not an honest review, because if they're looking at it and directing your editorial, even just telling you how to format the description or the trackable links that you're putting in there, this is not honest. This is something that you are being directed to do by a brand who's paying you to review the product, and the audience is not getting any of this in the disclaimers that you see on these videos. So why do brands do all this? Well, of course, they want to have control over the message, and a lot of this originates out of the marketing department and not out of the PR department. But also, what many brands have said to me over the years is that paying creators ensures that the video gets posted. And a lot of times they get tired of sending out products that don't end up getting reviewed. But that's how it works, because ultimately, if you are doing an editorial review, it is up to the creator to decide whether or not this thing is worthy enough for the audience. And I have had a lot of items that come in here that I just don't end up reviewing. Sometimes the brand says, hey, where's the video? I said, well, it's just not cutting it for me. So if you want it back, send me a label, I'll send it back to you, but my audience is not going to find this thing interesting. And there's been a number of examples of that. And again, I got a pile of stuff over there that I'm probably just never going to get to because I don't think it's worth my time or yours. But the reason why they do it also, though, is to get search results. So they're not necessarily after a lot of views from the subscribers of these channels, but what they want is that when somebody is out searching for information about this camera and they go onto YouTube, they see all of this stuff front and center. And because these are really the only videos on the platform about this product, because it's just another generic security camera, a lot of what the consumers are going to see are videos that were largely manufactured between the creator and the brand. Now they'll say, oh, we did a lot of our own work on this, and I don't doubt that. But at the end of the day, the terms here required pre-review and approval before it got uploaded along with other editorial direction. And that is not a review. And not everyone calls them a review, but many do. And I also found that many of the people in these videos were disclosing that it was sponsored, but not disclosing that TP-Link had pre-review or directed editorial content. Some didn't even mention the sponsorship and relied on the YouTube paid icon thing that pops up on the video when you watch one of these sponsored pieces. But according to the FTC, that's not good enough. You have to state it in the video in addition to relying on what the platform has built in. So what should be disclosed if you're somebody looking to get into this business? Well, first of all, the receipt of free product and travel and other considerations needs to be talked about. For example, YouTube recently flew a bunch of people out to one of their product announcements, and all the people that went were talking all about all this great stuff that YouTube was doing, yet none of them disclosed that YouTube actually paid for them to be there. That's a big no-no. You got to disclose when you get free travel to cover something. I typically cover my own travel expenses because of this. You also need to disclose, of course, obviously, direct compensation when they are paying you to do a review. You also have to disclose what editorial input was made by the brand in the video, because if you're stating that this is your honest opinion, yet the brand told you what to say, it's not your honest opinion. So you need to be able to separate that for the audience. And that's why in all of my reviews you hear me do these lengthy disclosures, because it's important for you to know up front what the relationship was with the brand so that you can decide whether or not to trust me. And if you're not saying these things, or your favorite creators aren't saying these things, you should ask them, hey, did they want pre-review of this video first? Were you compensated in addition to receiving free product? Just say it. And if they're not saying it, I think that's questionable. Now, YouTube should fix some things. I always like to have these negative rants go into a positive, productive direction. And I think what YouTube could do to really help us out here is have 2 tiers of this paid promotion button. Because you could tune into, for example, Linus Tech Tips, where he's got an ad inside of a video about something else. So he might be doing an editorial review, and then he's like, hey, buy this screwdriver or whatever from this company. And this label is the same for an ad running inside a video as it is for a video that is a dedicated ad itself. So I think YouTube should look at maybe distinguishing between content that is sponsored and sponsored content, if that makes sense. And in the industry, they call this the difference between an integration and a dedicated video. And I think it might be helpful for consumers that when they click on that video, it's not that this video includes a paid promotion. It is paid promotion. And I think that's a very big difference. Inclusion versus actually being a paid ad, I think is important for consumers to know. And I think YouTube could make a very simple change here to help distinguish this better. So why is it this way? Why are brands having to do this in order to get enough of these search results up on YouTube? Well, I think one reason is that tech is kind of boring these days. We're not seeing a lot of new stuff. You know, my iPhone 15 Pro here is a nice phone, but it's not all that much better than the 14 Pro or the 13 Pro that I had before it. And in the past, not that long ago, going from one iPhone to the other was a huge jump in performance and capabilities. Not so much anymore, and the same is true across most of the tech space. And as we continue consolidating more products into smartphones, this thing is a video camera, it's a phone, it's an organizer, it does everything that you would have 5 different devices for in the past. It's harder and harder to find things that I think capture audience excitement any longer. The other problem is algorithms. Because people are getting bored, They're not watching a lot of stuff, and because they're not watching a lot of stuff, the algorithms are not putting things in front of you anymore, to the point that even when I do find something new and interesting, the number of people that actually see the thumbnail in my subscriber feed is a small fraction of my overall subscriber base, because YouTube doesn't want to take any risks with your attention. They're going to put something else in front of you, so it's harder to even get this organic content out there. I've got a lot of examples of that this year. And on the creator side, there's also a number of challenges. For example, some content areas are totally saturated. I would never start a gaming channel today because it's so hard to break through. So many people are covering games that it's hard as a small creator to get any kind of traction at this point, because it is such a busy, saturated content space. That's why I look at a lot of boring stuff here on the channel, because it actually does very well, because not a lot of people cover the stuff that I cover. But it's not that fun if you want to be somebody who covers games. And the result of this overload is that the CPMs that you can earn on a gaming video, for example, are much lower than what you would earn on some other piece of content. So my friend Epos Vox posted this up on X the other day. He said it's fascinating how different YouTube CPMs are for different niches. I call it niches, not niches. My gaming channel makes a measly $1.20 CPM on average so far. That means that he earns $1.20 per 1,000 views. And that's not a YouTube short, that is his long form video. Yet he earns 5 times the revenue on his art channel that has 30% less views. And even within my channel, things like printers do far better than things like game controllers for this very reason. And it's because there's just not as much inventory on some topics versus others. And it's very easy to start a gaming channel. It's a lot harder to do an art channel, because you have to be an artist in order to do that to some degree. So this is part of what creators are dealing with. So this is kind of the problem here, is that it's hard to earn a living making editorial content, and especially hard to make a living making editorial content on fun topics. And so a lot of what I do feels like work. I enjoy what I do, but I'm going to be reviewing a printer later this week. It's not fun, but it helps keep the lights on around here, and it's how I'm able to earn a sustainable living covering technology products. And then other videos that I do that are more fun are kind of my reward for doing the things that earn more revenue here on the channel. So as you can see, even if you have millions of views, it's hard sometimes to make a living in certain content verticals on YouTube and some of these other platforms. That said, you can earn a living if you approach things honestly and ethically. And you're not going to have much of a job at all if you lose your audience over trust issues. And I see this over and over again, where these creators do a little itty bitty disclosure, I partnered with, this is sponsored by, but they don't go into the detail that the viewer should know, that the video was pre-reviewed before it was uploaded, and that the brand did have editorial direction in what they saw. Epos Vox is not one of those creators, so I'll take his slide off of here, but there are many others who don't really tell the audience that this video they're about to watch that's called the review is actually an advertisement. Even if they created it themselves, they're still under the direction of the brand. And I think it's really important for the health of this platform and of independent media in general for people to be more upfront about it. And I want to leave you with this last comment from the tweet that started this whole rant. At the end of this, Reanimator says, "We deserve pay." You don't deserve anything. You earn your pay. You earn your trust. And I think it's really important for creators out there to think about these relationships, and for the brands too, to think about the things that they're imposing upon creators when they're paying for some of these videos that go up there. I think we can all do better, and that's the point of this video. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Budley, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Steve Green, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.